Hello and welcome back to the ministry. And today we're talking about, I have some song reviews. So, this first one I'm doing is Jenifer Jenifer Hudson. And I'm telling you, we all remember it as I'm not going and all that kind of stuff. We remember lines from it, but it's like the actual name of the song is, and I'm telling you. Now, the Lord showed me this, but a lot of people take it in the perspective of a person begging not to be let go in a relationship. Yes? But the Lord showed me this in relation to our God ordained spouses. So it can be taken in multiple ways. That is talking about our God ordained spouses. They're willing to stand. They have been standing, and that's where they're not going. A lot of us have been dropped in seasons prior. We were dropped by our previous relationships. We were dropped in seasons that the enemy has really just used people to reject us so thoroughly that we don't even trust to that degree. Okay? And because of that, this song almost reflects that element of the man saying, I'm not going anywhere. Have you ever had somebody tell you, I'm not going anywhere? Have you ever had somebody actually profess and press to tell you, I'm not going to leave you? That's the way the Lord showed me this song this time. Not from the I'm not leaving someone that is trying to leave you. It's the I'm not leaving because I don't do that. Okay? And this has also been the problem for some of our God ordained spouses that were in counterfeit relationships. I guess this is the part I'm going to bring this part in on because we haven't even started the song. Some of your God ordained spouses, we talked about this in the song, You Remind Me of My First Love, or My First Love from Carl Thomas. He talks about the person reminding him of the first person that he was in love with. Your God ordained spouse was in a relationship with somebody that may have broke their heart or was a previous counterfeit or the counterfeit that they just left from, because the enemy sends counterfeits, especially when you're close to the real thing, that are almost identical duplicates of the person that you're supposed to be with. I'm going to tell you this. When it comes down to my God ordained spouse, the guy that I last dated, the last person I dated, when I tell you the way that they shaped their hair, both of them had tattoos in the same place. Both of their personalities, almost identical. Even down to the way that they joke about things. It's almost creepy how alike the guy I dated years ago and this guy are. I'm like, when I saw that, I was like, what? And I'm like, oh, that's why. Because the enemy wanted that guy to destroy me so that when this guy came, for one, I would be only reminded of that guy and potentially screw this up. Same thing for your God ordained spouse. The enemy sent somebody that was identical duplicate to you that did them horribly wrong. And that's why God's been dealing with your trigger warnings in you and in them, because of the fact that you're so much alike. Just because of the way you did stuff may trigger them, because you're not thinking like that, but that's the way the other person is. And it may cause them to have a little bit of PTSD. Which brings us to the song, coming from the different perspective I'm not going nowhere. So let's look at this. It starts off with, and I am telling you, I'm not going. Your goddamn spouse is trying to tell you, I'm here and I'm here to stay. I'm not leaving you. We've been through the relationships where the person was narcissistic and tried to leave every time that we looked up. They were trying to get away from us. I remember a clip from the show Girlfriends, and the girl Tony was getting married, and her father was saying, I was trying to leave your mother every day I left the house, but I came back. They're not trying to do that. They're not going nowhere. And I am telling you, you're the best man or woman I've ever known. Your God ordained spouse has been observing you, and they've determined you are the best thing that they've ever encountered. You're real. You're legitimate. I was listening to a song last night, and the person was saying, I've looked all over, couldn't find nobody like you. They know you're the it. You the one. There's no way I'll ever go. They have been fighting hard to get to you because of the fact they're not going to leave you. And they want to show you. Somebody was talking about this yesterday. You're going to be surprised when they finally do come face to face with you. And explain to you the warfare they went through and what they did in order to secure that once they got to you, that they won't go nowhere. Just Emily released a post on her YouTube forum yesterday talking about your God ordained spouse ain't spoken yet because he's strategically positioning himself so that when he does speak, it's going to shut the whole daggone thing down. Because it's going to be made known, I'm not going nowhere. No, there's no way. No way. I'm living without you. They have been fighting to get to you because they are not going to live without you in their life. The thought of it scares them. Remember the word I released talking about my old show, and the guy came back to her and said they hadn't been together in 4 years. He came back every year to see her depending on something that had happened throughout that time frame, and he came back in the last episode and said, I want you back. He's seen what he almost lost and said, look, I want you back. Whatever you want, whenever you want it. I'm here. I'm waiting for you. Tell me, because I am not going to lose you again. The fact of the matter is, they're not going. I'm not living without you. They not. I don't want to be free. God has given them the mandate that you are their spouse, and whatever was wrong with their life, they have made a conscious effort to figure it out so that they can come to you, because they're going to free themselves from everything that has distracted them so that they can be with you, because they don't want to be free of you. Not you. The rest of them, y'all can go to hell. You gotta stay. I'm staying. I'm staying. And you gonna love me. They're coming with the mandate. I am staying. And you are gonna love me. It's one of those situations. I'm gonna be the leader of your household. I'm gonna be your husband, and you are going to love me. The Lord has pressed upon the button of these husbands are coming. They're coming. Get ready. And they're going to be the one that is going to love you. The prophetess that I listened to released a couple of words in the past few years that has talked about it's not going to be like what you experienced in your previous relationship. They are going to love you. Dana Ray released a word talking about it's going to be perfect. A lot of us has been through abusive relationships, narcissistic people, and the Lord is saying, no, this person I'm sending, why would I send you somebody that is not going to love you? This person is going to love you in a way that that person could not love you. Those people could not love you. You got to allow them to love you, though. And I am telling you, I'm not going. They're not going. They're making every arrangement to show you exactly the point of proof. I'm not leaving. Even through the rough times are showing. When it gets rough, you're used to the people that you've been around, whether it was family, whether it was loved ones, whether it was your romantic relationships, they would dip out. You ever heard the saying that you find out who your real friends are when you're going through something? Yeah, you find out because they be like, I ain't talking to you. I ain't dealing with you. I'm not. They start ghosting you and you be looking like, what I do to you? I didn't do nothing. What's up? You just not want to, why you ain't talking to me? What did I do? And it's that element, God's saying, no, this person, they're in for the long haul. This person is going to be there. Rough times or not. They're going to buckle down and say, oh, it's rough. Okay, let's see. Let us buckle down. Let us secure our borders and let's figure this out because we ain't going nowhere. Let's create that supernatural hedge of protection and keep in this together. Because you're stronger together than you are apart. 111. 111. What is this? It's just there's just no way. No way. They're not living without you. They are going to fight through whatever warfare of whatever season that they got to go through. And some of you, I'm going to hip you up to something. Some of y'all have been going through a season. It seemed very peaceful. And you're sitting there like, it's peaceful over here. But you're sensing warfare. And you're like, why am I sensing warfare when I'm at peace? Because you're not the one going through the warfare. Your spouse is going through the warfare. But you're supposed to sit in that space and stand in the gap in prayer for them. And as you stand in the gap in prayer for them, it makes their battle easier. They're coming to you. And because they're coming to you, the enemy is throwing every grenade, everything, including, you ever seen them cartoons? I know you've seen them. Where the cartoon, the person starts throwing everything. They just start throwing everything at the other person just to try to keep them from coming to them. Anything that they can pick up, they start throwing it. Throw. That's what's happening. Spiritually, your God-ordained spouse is dealing with some of these kinds of warfare, and you're supposed to stand in the gap and pray them through that, the warfare coming against them. And the fact that you're even praying eases that warfare, that allows them the ability to move against the resistance that's preventing them from coming to you. You're working together. Because God needs you to focus. This is why you've been at home. Some of y'all been stuck in the house. And this is why. Because God needs you to pray for them. And pray them through these experiences. I remember standing, it was 2 years ago. almost. And I was standing next to my bed when I was still in New York. And I said to the Lord, Lord, if there's anything that he needs to go through spiritually, let me know, and I will spiritually stand with him in whatever way he needs me to in the spirit. Meaning, I will consecrate, I will pray, I will do that. Sometimes God was just doing that anyway. You were consecrating and it was standing for him. So in that, you have been working, and because of that, they know you have. We are part of the same place. Let's go back to Genesis 2:22. You are their rib. You're from the same body. We're part of the same time. God has created you from the same place. We both share the same blood. You are both children of God. The blood of Jesus is within both of you. And God has crafted you both to be. God knew you from the time of your birth. So you think that he did not craft that man to be your other half. Do you think that? With the intention, for God sees from the beginning to the end. So you think that when you were born that he didn't already have this man in thought process to be prepared to receive you. Some of your husbands are younger than you. Some of your husbands are older than you. And for those that were older, yeah, you were formed from his rib. Meaning, God already knew what he was calling him to do ahead of time. And because of that, he made you from him. He fashioned you in a specific form of warfare to be able to be prepared. And lastly, you're part of the same mind. God's been doing something interesting with me lately. There's sometimes I'll get into a headspace where doubt will try to come in, and not so much doubt about him, but doubt about certain things. Well, God, what about this? Well, God, what about this? And you know what God will do? I'll be having a weird experience mentally where it's almost like I'm hearing a man's voice say the exact same thing in relation to what it is that I'm worried about. And I'm like, he's thinking the same thing, isn't he? God is allowing you to hear the fact that y'all both think alike. You're worried about the exact same thing he's worried about. And God is laughing at you both because he's like, y'all from the same, cut from the same cloth. Exactly. You're worried about the same things. You think about things the same way. And I tell you, same. I remember it was about 6 years ago. It was early in my journey in New York. And I was talking to a friend because this particular friend, she saw a photograph of him and said, "Oh, you know that's your husband, right?" I was like, "How did you know?" And she said, "Yeah." And during that time frame, he was doing something with his hair. And ironically, for a female, I was doing the exact same thing. I was like, then it was another situation a few years later. I happened to be looking at something that he was doing. I lie to you not. I can even do this right now because the shoe's right in front of me. He had on a shoe that looked just like this shoe. I swear, it was an almost identical shoe. I said, what the heck? He had an exact identical shoe. I was like, God, really? Walked into the I place on, what do they call it? Saks Fifth Avenue off 5th or something like that. It was the discount store for Saks Fifth Avenue. And I just happened to walk in there. And I was looking at the Gucci glasses for eyeglass frames. And I was like, oh, look at them frames. Because I love leopard print. Have you not noticed? I walked over. And I was drawn to this one pair of glasses because it was leopard print. I was like, oh my God, these are so awesome. Look at these glasses. Man, if I had it, I would have gotten leopard print glasses. Lie to you not. It wasn't but a few weeks later. I happened to have the ability to get on the phone. And I was looking at Instagram. Why my God or Day's spouse be wearing the exact same glasses I was looking at? Exact same. He posted a picture of him wearing the glasses. I said, oh, no, you didn't, Jesus. You both think alike. Exactly. I can't wait to see what's going to happen when we get together and God start doing that kind of stuff. I buy some shoes and then end up finding out he have a pair of shoes that look just like my shoes. Because notice that that pair of boots that I just showed you looked like it was androgynous. It wasn't a pair of boots that had a heel on it or anything. It was a regular boot. I'll pick it up again. You see that? It looked like it could be a female or a male shoe. So the fact that he had on a pair of shoes that looked identical to those shoes, I was like, huh? I'm like, oh, this is my husband. So God knows what he's doing. And matter of factly, I'll even say this. This is how I know that this man is my husband. Because my God ordained spouse does these types of things. When I was with the counterfeit, he never did that type of stuff. We never styled each other. We never. If at all I dressed anything like him, it was because I was trying to. This is happening with neither of our knowledge. It just is happening. So this is God. So you both have the same mind. Get used to it. God will probably get y'all out of arguments that way. He'll remind you of just how alike you are. What have you? Where am I at? And time, we have so much to share. There are things that you have yet to have conversations with your God-ordained spouse about that he's going to express to you about the things that he went through. And I cannot imagine how this conversation is going to go with all the things that you experienced waiting for them to come to you and the experiences that God gave them to confirm to you, to confirm to them that you were their spouse. That conversation, y'all gonna be having hours of long conversations talking about this stuff, sharing so much. Oh, come on. Where was I? No, I'm not waking up tomorrow morning and finding there's nobody there. Last night, I was listening to the radio, and it was a song that I can't think of. Classic 90s R&B song. I was going to write it down to review it, but didn't. Because it kind of, when you thought about the lyrics, came off kind of witchcrafty. But the point that I was making is it was talking about the two people laying together and the woman waiting on that person to be in that space. And That had to have been an 80s song, actually. It was either 80s or early 90s. But your God ordained spouse, they can't wait to have you there. Darling, there's no way. No way. I'm living without you. They're working hard to get to you, because they're not going to live without you. The Lord, God gave me a specific line. If I say it, you're going to know what it is. And this specific line is in relation to my God ordained spouse. And I have dreams in relation to the repetitiveness of this specific line. And God repetitively brings me this line all the time as confirmation, because he knows that, and it comes from a specific song. And it's literally talking about they're not going to live without you. I remember I was walking past a car 7 years ago, and it was actually the first time my God ordained spouse that I knew of was coming into town. That same weekend, it was the day before, I walked past a vehicle, and the vehicle was playing this line from the song, and I was like, what? Repetitive. I mean, this is a repetitive confirmation God gives me all the time. When I tell you, even creepier, my God ordained spouse did a video on Instagram where he was repetitively having, I don't know whether that was, to me, I'm like, God, was that a spiritual moment right there? Because, I mean, every show, that one line. It's that line specifically. Everybody says it. I'm like, everybody says it. He didn't even say it. They all said it. He turned, I ain't gonna, if I talk too much, you're gonna figure it out. But yeah, they ain't living without you. Yeah. Where we at? I'm not living without you. There's just no way. Tear down the mountains. Now, we've been talking about this in the previous few videos where I talked about they are willing to tear down every mountain between them and you. Megan Michelle says this all the time. She said in a live recently that the thing that's preventing you from getting to them is all of the things that have become mountains that you have not dealt with, that's between the two of you. She says it somewhat like that. I paraphrase it. But yeah, the issues that have been between y'all is what's keeping y'all apart. And those are the mountains that he's trying to create a plane out of right now. He gonna tear them mountains down because he's getting to you. Period. Yell, scream, and shout. We talked about the walls of Jericho coming down. They are going to make sure that they knock that wall down. I talked about the Elevation Church, where the pastor was talking about the fact that when they walked into Jericho, the walls had collapsed. They didn't really just fall down. They collapsed over, that they became a bridge into Jericho. They are making sure that they are walking in, and they're going to take you with them. I had a dream recently of the gate, that your God ordained spouse is coming in. And those of y'all that got influential spouses, you got to be ready when they come, because they are literally opening a gateway to get you. And they can't stay on the opposite side but for so long, because they must immediately close the gate once they get you, meaning they're only coming for you. Okay? What's next? You can say what you want. I'm not walking out. They're making a place for you. It says in the word that the Lord makes a place for you. God doesn't qualify the called. Wait, no. God doesn't call the qualified. He qualifies the called. He's qualified you, prepared you, sat you through these experiences in order to be able to put you in place. They're making the place for you. Stop all the rivers. This actually is a reference that reminds me of Revelations. In Revelations, when the woman that gave birth, the woman with the crown of 12 stars, she gave birth, she was driven into the wilderness, she came out the wilderness with wings as eagles, and she flew, but she ended up in a battle with the serpent at the time. In that, the serpent tried to spray water out of his mouth. Meaning it gulped up a bunch of water and tried to consume her in water. But God's heavenly angels broke the ground underneath that the water was consumed by the ground. Stop up the rivers. God's going to make sure that anything blocking them from getting to you will be removed. He will dry it out. Okay? Where we at? Oh, we almost to the end. We're almost at the end of the song too. Push, strike, and kill. They are in a battle to get to you. They are not going to leave this fight until they get to you. Jacob fighting the Lord and winning. Jacob standing all night long to fight the Lord, and at sunrise, his hip got knocked out of joint, but guess what? The only person that ever fought God and passed. This is what God's doing with these men. And because of that, they're not going to live without you. They're not. So this is just the last stanza. I'm not living without you. You're going to love me. They know that once they get to you and prove themselves as to how they've stood for you, you will love them for it. That is what God is doing right now. So that's the end of this song review. I'm going to come back with the next part.